Hi everyone, Cam here, askmeimbipolar.com, and in this video I'm going to answer the question, what's the difference between being depressed and just being down? This one's kind of a hot topic for me, to be honest, because a lot of the time when I do feel down or sad about something, people tend to jump to the conclusion that I'm going into a depressive episode, which is definitely not the case. The two things are completely different, and hopefully this video is going to explain to you what I mean by that. For me, being depressed is like an out-of-body experience. The first thing I notice is that I lose all motivation to do anything, but it's not just a lack of motivation. It's like I actually become incapable of doing normal day-to-day things. One of the markers for me personally is having a shower. Now, I know that probably sounds a bit weird, but I'm actually like a little bit of a germaphobe, to be honest. So I have a shower every day, if not more than once a day. Especially if I've been to the gym or something like that, I could have a shower 2 or 3 times a day, depending on what I'm doing. And I notice when I'm starting to get depressed or go into a depressive episode that I kind of start getting these thoughts like, oh, I can't really be bothered having a shower. Maybe I'll just leave it till tomorrow. That kind of a thing. And for me, that's not normal. When I say you lose motivation to do things, I mean like everything. I don't want to eat, I don't want to move, I definitely don't want to socialise, holding a conversation becomes really difficult. Stupid things like going to the shop to get some milk. Now, the shop from here is 5 minutes from my house, and the idea of going to the shop to get some milk when I'm depressed is like trying to prepare for a trek up Kilimanjaro. Even little things like getting dressed in the morning becomes this massive task. You know, I remember times where I've started getting dressed in the morning and I've actually had to rest halfway through getting dressed because I just feel so energyless, so fatigued by the one task of getting dressed. You know, once I have got dressed and then I want to lie down again for 5 minutes just to try and recoup some energy. If there's one thing I want you to understand about depression, it's not all in your head. It's a very, very physical problem. Yes, it's a chemical imbalance and a little bit of a hormone imbalance maybe, but the physical effects of it are life-shattering, literally. You know, people say, oh, come and socialise, and I'm thinking, socialise, go out the house. It's taken 80% of my energy reserves just to get up and go to the bathroom. How am I supposed to go out and maintain conversation and act like everything's fine? You know, it's physically draining. It's the most physically drained I've ever felt in my entire life. The only way I can really describe it is like all the air in the world has been changed into some really high viscosity substance. So every single thing you do, every movement, every breath you take is like fighting through this sticky, thick treacle type substance. So literally everything takes 100% more effort than it should do. Imagine the difference between running on concrete and then running through sand. Sand is always going to be harder because of the friction. Now imagine that the sand is all around you and on top of you and under you, and you've got to get through that. It's going to take a lot more effort to walk 100 metres than it would do to do that on concrete in normal circumstances. That's kind of like the way I can describe the difference between when I'm in a depressive episode, physically, and when I'm not. You know, simple things like having a conversation, or even things like this, video blogging, takes an inordinate amount of energy when you're in a depressive episode. That's why you'll find a lot of people tend to become a bit more introverted, because it's harder to sustain conversations when you've just got no energy to do it, when it costs so much energy to do it. I often find actually that, well, people have told me that when I'm in that episode that my speech rate is actually a lot slower, so I start talking at a slower pace anyway. That goes for social media and texting and things like that as well. It's just such an effort. People don't understand until they've experienced it that, you know, simple things like, somebody once told me, in fact, that putting a stamp on an envelope took them 2 hours. And that's the kind of thing that you just don't get when you're looking at depression. People think, oh, okay, you're depressed, you don't like life or something like that. You know, you think you're worthless or whatever, but they don't understand the physical aspect of it. I've had times where I've been having a conversation with someone and the pure effort of having to keep up the conversation has just made me sleepy, is the only way to put it. I've literally had to fight to continue the conversation, and then at some point I've had to go, do you know what? I can't do this anymore. I need to go and nap. And just that effort for finding the voice, finding the words, like the movement, it becomes so hard. Eating when you're depressed can go either way. I personally tend to not eat so much when I'm depressed. I think for me it's the effort of going and getting food or going and preparing food. I mean, I'm not the best cook normally, so when I'm depressed, I've got no chance. For me, I tend to eat the wrong things as well when I'm depressed because, easier things in packaging, I don't have to cook, that type of thing. But if you want to know more about exercise and nutrition and things like that in episodes, I have got another blog about that specifically, so I'll put the link up for you. The physical side of depression for me is the worst because I can't function day to day. That compared to being sad or being down, massive difference. I can be sad and down and crack on with my day and, I might be like, oh, I can't be bothered going out or I can't be bothered seeing my friends or I can't be bothered going to the gym, but I can still force myself to do it. Whereas when I'm depressed, I physically cannot do it. I can't get up. It's completely different. I always picture the battery icon on my laptop. So you have the little icon about that big and it's got little segments in it. And then when you get to the end of the battery life, the bottom segment turns red. So being depressed for me is like that bottom segment where the laptop's like, if you don't plug me in now, I'm going to go to sleep. So you're constantly in that state of, I need to recoup my energy. I need to recoup my energy. Every little thing puts you back into the red. Being down, probably half a battery. You're still in the green. You can still do stuff. You're a little bit less, on point than normal, but yeah, you can go through it and you can get through it and you can make yourself do stuff. The mental side of depression is very, very different from being down or from being sad. For me, depression's like an abyss, a black hole. I get sucked into it and there's no point to anything anymore. I don't see like the worth in anything. There's no hope. Now, I live with anxiety anyway, so I do always have this little voice in my head that's just like, oh, you're not good enough. You can't do that. You'll never be able to do this. And, it's a daily thing that I have to fight that voice and go, yes, I am good enough. Yes, I can do this. And yes, I will do this. But when you're in a depressive episode, you haven't got the energy to fight that voice. And it changes from you're not good enough to the world would be better off if you weren't in it. There's a massive difference between that. Not being good enough is something that you could probably change. The world being better off without you in it is a finality. That's a decision there. That's the end of everything. Depression warps your thinking. It goes from sort of you have no impact on the world and your existence is pointless to you're now having a negative impact on the world, a negative impact on other people. And I think that's the part that a lot of people can't bear. When you look at a lot of people that are in a hard state of depression, that's the part that really gets to them, when they feel like they're actually a burden to other people. Being down is definitely a mental kick in the teeth, but the difference is you're going to get over it. You're going to get over it. There might be a particular thing that's made you sad or brought you down, but you also realise that you have other things that are great. So, one thing might be terrible right now, but you could have great family, great friends, your job's going well. There's always other things to balance that out. And you know that when you're sad, even though that thing might be making you so sad that you want to cry every 5 minutes, you still know you're going to get through it because you know other things are worth it. I've had times when I've been really down where I literally have been close to tears for weeks on end, but it's still not the same as being in a depressive episode. I get really annoyed when people say things to me like, oh, are you sure you're not being depressed? Are you sure you're not going into depression? No, I'm sad, like every other human being in the world. Things make me sad. A lot of things make me sad. Some things emotionally hurt me, and that's okay. I'm human. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be depressed. It doesn't mean that I'm going to go into an episode. That is a completely different thing. Like, depression is like being suspended in time. Your body's given up on you. Your mind's got nothing left, nothing to hope for. It knows that the game is over. Being sad is completely different. Being sad is just normal. Yes, I would say that I'm probably more sensitive than other people, and probably that's something to do with my mental health, but it still doesn't mean that when I'm sad, I'm depressed, or when I'm depressed, I'm just sad. My point of this video is that they are two completely separate things. One of them is a normal range of emotions, the other one is a mental illness. Well, hopefully that's helped answer the question for you. If you've got any comments, put them in the comments section below, or talk to us on social media. Give us a like on Facebook, on Twitter, we're on Instagram as well. And yeah, if you have any other questions that you'd like me to answer, then send them in. Don't forget to check out the website at www.askmeimbipolar.com.